Off the back of a huge day at Sha Tin with 2 Group 1s, we return to Sha Tin on Wednesday night for an 8-race programme on the all-weather. Particularly strong end to the programme with a couple of Class 3s and a Class 2. We've got it all covered for you here on Racing to Win. I'm Andrew Lejeune, joined in the studio by Paul Lally, our form analyst, and race caller Brett Davis. And Brett, before we get back to the Group 1s on the weekend, so that Class 2 coming out, actually the Class 3 is really good. Ugly Warrior and pick number 1 going head to head. Yeah,
absolutely, Andrew. Yeah, there's quite a few good races on the card at Sha Tin on Wednesday night, an all-weather program. We have 5 of them now during the season, so this is the 3rd one, still a couple more after this. They can be a little tricky from time to time. I always look at the runners that Me Choi's got. First thing I do when the dirt meetings come up, and he's got a few in there, so we'll be keeping our eye on those. All right,
and off the back of Sunday's programme, Paul, we've got a huge TT jackpot coming up. It's not that big Wednesday night, but it's still a decent one.
Yeah, well, 1.9 million, so it's still pretty good leading into this 8-race program. It's never easy, is it, with these dirt races, but always good if you can manage to find a winner. And that last race is a rip snorter, isn't it?
It is.
I'm really looking forward to that last one. I think it's probably the most competitive race we've had in the dirt here in Hong Kong in a long, long time.
All right, a couple of interesting first starters as well. Group winners coming out of Australia, Gunnison being one of them, unbeaten.
Yes, and he's a horse that's going to be right up there in the speed duel, you would think, in a race that's got a lot of pace in it, but I'm not quite sure whether he's going to handle it in the concluding stages, because he hasn't had a run, obviously, and a lot of them have. So he's an interesting runner. Has some talent, but first up for me, I'm going to sit on the fence.
All right, OK. Well, speaking of group races, let's look back on Hong Kong Gold Cup Day with Ed Sadler.
There was a sense of deja vu on Sunday as the heroes of December's international meeting, Time Warp and Beauty Generation, scaled further heights. It all started with Time Warp, who led throughout in the City Hong Kong Gold Cup and broke Gym and Tonic's track record over 2,000 metres at Sha Tin, which has stood for the best part of 20 years.
Werther and Time Warp stride for stride. Seasons Bloom, Pakistan Star. Time Warp repels the challenge from Werther, and Time Warp will do it again.
Despite holding entries for the Dubai World Cup meeting next month, Time Warp is likely to stay in Hong Kong for the rest of this season.
I think he's a horse that's going to prove that he can win the QE2 Cup. And he will stay back for the rest of the Hong Kong races. Maybe next year, then we go places with him.
It was announced post-race the runner-up Werther had bled from both nostrils, while a lack of race fitness may have counted against Pakistan Star at his comeback run.
Yeah, he jumped fairly. He sat behind the leader nicely. I thought if once I was going to pull him out, he would have just dashed, he would have beaten him easily. He just, when I got out in the play, he just stayed in the same spot. So I just needed to run.
There was more Group 1 glory to come soon after, though, for Zach Purton, this time in the Queen's Silver Jubilee Cup, where he guided Beauty Generation to his 2nd Group 1 win for the season.
Beauty Generation tiring, beat the clock running through underneath him, then 50-50. Beauty Generation will not surrender. He fights on strongly, and Beauty Generation from beat the clock and 50-50.
With this horse, he waits for the other horses to come to him a little bit. He gives a bit of a kick, and then he sort of just wanders. And I think Joe made a bit of a mistake when he came up my inside. He snuck up like a church mouse, and as he got sort of on level terms, he roared at his horse. And when he roared at his horse, my horse kicked.
It was also John Moore's 7th win in the Queen's Silver Jubilee Cup, and the trainer suggested afterwards that the Champions Mile at the end of April could be a future target for Beauty Generation. Race favourite Beat the Clock had to settle for 2nd, with Joe Moreira indicating that he still has room for further improvement.
He's done a few things wrong, in particular the last furlong. That cost him the win, and if he can improve on that side, that wide, I think he's going to be one of the best sprinter or middle distance for next season.
Sunday's meeting at Sha Tin brought the curtain down on a busy month of feature racing, as the attention now turns to the BMW Hong Kong Derby on March 18.
Looking forward to that, but looking back, Brett, had it all really, the weekend action. Great shame about Werther, because he actually looked like he got his head in front just for a moment or so, and the bleeding took its toll.
Yeah, I'm sure he did, Andrew. At the furlong, I thought he got his maybe half a head in front, and then, yes, unfortunately bled. Seasons Bloom ran a cracking race, and I think under the circumstances, Pakistan Star's run enormous. He hasn't had a run for 8 months. There was very little between the first 4, and they've broken a track record that, as Edward mentioned in that feature there, has stood for nearly 20 years. So a lot of merit for all 4 horses, and Beauty Generation, what a marvellous season he's had.
Incredible, absolutely amazing for Beauty Generation. Pakistan Star goes up 10 points. On the undercard as well, Paul, Super Missile looked very good as well.
He did, and so did Lean Perfection. Lean Perfection up 13, probably deserves that. He's going places. Super Missile, likewise, he's up 10. Interesting, Joe rode him because Zach couldn't make the weight. I don't think you'll be able to get Joe off him now. Maquila, the good horse there from the America. It's good to see him come over and win on the turf. And Handsome Bobo, I thought, won pretty impressively from the front as well. He goes up 6 points. And good to see winner St. Paul's. Geez, Frankie Law's got him going very well, you know, in the lower grades. And you wouldn't be surprised if he won again in Class 4.
Your thoughts quickly, Paul, on the 1400 metre race with, I know you're a big fan of 50-50.
Yep.
What were we on there, do you think?
Maybe a mile for him. He had his chance, definitely. Beat the Clock, went up to win the race like he did against 50-50. But Beauty Generation was just too strong. Beauty Generation's been a revelation this year. 1400, 1600. I always thought he was a 2000 metre horse, but he's not.
Our stocks have been a little bit low sort of the last 12 months or so, but it's good to see some horses really standing up. And you mentioned too, Lean Perfection, Super Missile, Hot King Prawns, another one. There's a few others floating around too that are sort of lifting the profile again of Hong Kong. Not that we've ever really dipped, but we need a few more good types.
Yeah, there's some in the pipeline, that is for sure. Let's see if we can find you some more, actually, with our horses to follow. Now, there were plenty of first starters out on the weekend, Paul, and one in particular caught your eye?
Well, actually 2 in this race. There was 2. There was I had them both in the numbers. I thought they both ran really well. The one we actually highlighted is La Bomba, but the widest run is a horse called Little Bird. I think he's not far away from winning a race as well. But La Bomba was 3 or 4 wide the whole way in this race, and he stuck on really nicely. He finished 8th eventually, but he wasn't that far away. And you can see Little Bird, who was very green, the widest runner. He ran on really nicely as well. So of these 2 horses, I think they're both going places, and a win from both of them doesn't look too far away. You can see Little Bird got checked there as well.
Even that horse in the blue getting through late there, Pearly Champion from the Michael Freedman yard. I thought he ran good too, so that might be a race to follow with a lot of oomph. Yeah,
that was Golden Dash sort of getting in Little Bird's way a little bit. You've got one with a bit more experience, bro.
Yeah, it's only had the one win, the horse I'm going to highlight. Christoph Sumion, of course, was here to ride all of the horses for Pan Satong. And Goldland, I thought, at the 250, I thought he was going to win. At the furlong, I knew Super Form was going to win. But when I went back and had a look at the replay, I thought Goldline had an excuse. He was 3 deep for most of the race. He had no cover for a portion as well. So here, he's sort of, you know, he's there, but all that extra work he's done throughout the race is just told. So I was taken by the performance due to the factors that he's covered ground primarily, and I think that he's close to another win.
He looked good, didn't he, when he won at Happy Valley?
He did.
First time.
Yeah. Surprised he's only had the one, to be honest.
Absolutely. All right, smallest field of the day for me. Eastern Express wins. There's 2 horses actually to take out of this. Rise High in the green sleeves. I think this was an enormous run from him. But he finishes 2nd, but we'll leave that one alone. Savvy 6 on the outside. I don't know if there's a horse with a more awkward action in Hong Kong at the moment. His tail sticks out the back. His back end and front end don't look like they match up, but 1,600 metres first up, I didn't think he'd actually lay up with them. This is a huge effort for me. He ran 3rd in the German Derby. He's won a maiden over there at 2,200 metres. He's going to need further, and he's still in our Derby as well. He's currently 15th on the order of entry, but Sacred Elixir won't run, so he's number 14.
When you look at him, the word unattractive does come to mind, but he covers the ground well.
Glass houses and all those sort of things, but, you know, he can gallop.
Yeah, he can.
You get a price in the Derby.
Yeah, you will. But I think the way he gallops and everything, the instructions will be just, he's always like that, just get on with it.
Yeah,
because he doesn't look like he's...
Yeah. He's a bit of a rush prep for the Derby, but it wasn't a bad run.
From what we saw when we did Race in the Wind to what we saw there on race day was a huge effort, really, and I think, as you say, he's going to be winning some races.
He might be backing up this weekend as well. All right, those are the horses. Here are the jockeys. Chad Schofield and Dylan Moe picked up a couple of days and fines as well to go along with that, and back to Happy Valley midweek. Arizona Blizzard, Bank on Red and Fortune Bobo, with Moreira Clipperton and Jack Wong falling foul of the stewards there. All right, that's looking back. We'll look forward now to our all-weather programme at Sha Tin, and the horse withdrawn is race number 5, number 10, Joyful Park. So Dragon Warrior and Keith Young now get a start. That's the only scratching as it stands, race 5, number 10. As we launch into the programme, then we start off with a Class 5 over the 1,200 metres, headed by Helen's Choice, a last start course and distance winner, stays in the grey. Starlit Night drops into Class 5 with the gear change, blinkers off. Supreme Storm, Class 5, first time as well. Victory Duke, all-weather debut. Happy Sound, you'd think will roll from barrier 6, Zach Burton on board. World City is 0 from 6 so far this season, and Starry Starlies is fresh up since October.
He is. Now, Happy Sound and Rich City Fortune have got the two profiles here to be front runners. Rainbow Gold's been handy in recent races over a longer trip. Victory Duke from a good barrier should kick through. 5 Stars Agent's a front running type, but it's generally over longer, so he might struggle to stay with them, but they should set a reasonable tempo.
A horse that's really well rated at the moment is Helen's Choice, won twice in Class 4 and last start winner in Class 5, so he's in form at the moment, Helen's Choice. Vincent Ho aboard here, and his track work's been not too bad down the back straight. And then he raced on this all-weather. I thought I'd show an all-weather one because obviously he'd be racing on that surface. The turf one was just to show he was fit, but he's going nicely enough as well, Helen's Choice. And Massive Millennium, I thought this wasn't a bad piece from him as well. Joe Moreira jumps aboard at the right time here, and he's a horse who's moving really fluently here in the morning as well, as you can see. So just a little bit here. The Class 5s, it wasn't too much.
Yeah, well, they actually went head-to-head last time out, Helen's Choice and Massive Millennium. Fantastic Fabio in the field as well. Pretty tough run for him, but Helen's Choice comes out on top. £7 turnaround for Massive Millennium. Yeah,
this was just his second run back too from a long spell, and as Paul's highlighted, his form in the mornings has continued to improve. So I think with barrier 5, not a great deal of extra weight to carry, he should be very competitive again. As Paul's mentioned, he is a 5-time winner. He's won 3 in this class and 2 elsewhere.
2 in Class 4, yeah, I've got him on top because I think he's a horse in form and it's not a strong Class 5 race. They don't normally win 2 together, but I think he's better than Class 5.
All right, no fluke about that then. Rainbow Gold, the next one we're going to have a look at, was 5th. We're going back to the end of last year. This was behind Victory, sorry, it wasn't, it was behind Diamond Friend.
Yeah, 19 start maiden, speaks for itself in a way. The best he's done is the 3rd, or he's had 2/3. He'll get his chance from barrier number 3. As I said, not a strong race. You know, if he's ever going to do anything, this could be the race. I threw him in for 4th.
I've got him in for 2nd. I tipped him in this race, and he got up there early, and then Chadwick tried to get the horse to ease. He just wouldn't. He just kept wanting to run, and that took its toll at the end there. He weakened out. Coming back to 1,200, they'll outspeed him early, but he'll hang around sort of 3rd or 4th, and then when the whips get cracking, I think he'll stay on. So for that reason, I think back in trip is worth another chance. All
right, Starry Starries is the next one we're going to have a look at. Trialling last week. Now, trails them here, but Mr. Stunning's in front, DB Pin in behind him. It's quite a handy trial.
It's a strong trial. He's had 2 very quiet trials, Starry Starlies. He's probably, I think, the lowest rated galloper we've got there on Wednesday night off a rating of 16. He has had a couple of 3rds in the past, and one of those has been on the all-weather. He's going to give away a start, Paul. Can he rattle in?
No.
No?
24 start maiden, barrier 12. And he's not going as well as he was when he ran those 3rds, so I couldn't have him.
All right, Helen's Choice for you?
Yep, Helen's Choice on top to beat. My big roughie in this is Supreme Storm. He comes in fresh, but's had 3 trials and should run on nicely. The tongue tie on for the first time. Happy Sound likes this surface, and Rainbow Gold for 4th. 1, 4, 8, 11, and the exotic's the way to go, with 4 adding the spice.
Interesting, those trials you talk about, Supreme Storm, 2 of them over the longer trip, 16 and 1700. I didn't put him in. I went 1, 11, 8, 12. Helen's Choice, I agree with Paul, hardest to beat. Rainbow Gold, Happy Sound. I'm going to sneak in Starry Starlies. I'll play a trio, 1 banker, 2, 8, 11 and 12. I'm going to sneak in Starlit Night from the Me Choi yard, getting a drop in grade. Done nothing. But only $12 there, as you can see.
All right, there you go. There's Me Choi factor kicking in already. All right, that's the first race, race number 2. It's Class 4, but again, over the 1,200 metres.